If you're truly spiritual, you're not concerned about the everyday concerns, the socio-political atmosphere, your job, a friend with cancer. You give yourself to it, you're there, you're present 1,000%. But 900 trillion, quadrillion, septrillion, that's 602 zeros, percent of you is far and away from here. I'm not talking about the local palm reader. I'm talking about people, we all have at least one in our atmosphere who's truly spiritual. And if you very quietly, respectfully, and humbly gain a slight friendship with them or know them, then you can address this, but you'll have to bleed it out of them. Because the spiritual are not just, they're humble to a degree you can't believe, because they're not really here and they know that. It makes their life very difficult because they can't ask for help, can't acknowledge a lot of things in their life that aren't right, and they get set up all the time by the dark forces that rule this world. This world is a dark force. You are spiritual giants. You're here, you're born to alleviate the pain, to remove it, to dispel all the negative thoughts in the air forever. And if you're truly spiritual and you communicate with someone who is truly spiritual, you'll know that's why you're born. You'll know the impossibility of the other way, of giving in to fear, disease, wars, and rumors of wars. You're born to spiritual greatness. Your humility is your godness showing through. In heaven and spiritual consciousness, there aren't two beings. You can't explain these things in human terms. It's just an isness. It's as quiet as the ocean floor, but it's a permanent sense of goodness, kindness. I'll have to use the word infinite an infinite number of times. This is from my experience. All my friends, a friend across from me that used to teach, I knew from 1970 when she was a different person now. Certain people live with us. They are forever. They're spiritual. They're kind, they're true, they're erudite, they're decent, they're healers. They're adept at everything that makes the lives work of those around them. They rarely care sufficiently for themselves, if at all ever. They wouldn't know how to ask for help personally. And that's not a problem. They don't know how to get out of here to ask someone else to do whatever, because they're part of an ocean of grace and dignity and wonder and kindness and joy. I just, excuse me, I have the worst allergies ever. And you're here to dispel the darkness. The thing in your heart that is so decent and kind, doesn't know how to extend itself out, just wants to give and can't find an opening. That's the personhood of Almighty Everlasting Infinite God, our friend, our soul, our self, our Savior, our Redeemer. You are the Redeemer. You're the godness of the universe that appears in this madness to wipe away all tears forever. That's why we're here. All the people in the world are like those cardboard cut-ups of sand that I don't know what to call them. They're not. And when you have your heart and soul open, you see through everything all the time. You know who's real, who's false, and to what degree, and how they're going to set you up. You'll understand the different beings or beingness behind each different person. Their sub-personalities, their spiritual advancement or not. I have a friend who's a holy being, and now in this life spent a couple years being jacked around, and so has part of themselves shut down, and that won't be by the end of this session. And so I'm a spiritual person, you to heal, to be brave, to stand tall in a very humble, contrite, decent way. as a spiritual being, where we began this, is you're always going to have different presences of your heart and soul that'll be pouring out to others around you. And very rarely will anyone in your environment even acknowledge that that's happening. And now and then they'll say something nice about you on a Thursday or at work or something, and you have to learn how to get along with the guys and the gals and the people, and watch yourself who you spend too much intimate time with, because you get too close to people and for anything less than true love. You're going to be involved with the beings behind that person and the reason you were tempted into such and such circumstance. Does it make sense what I'm saying? Without having to use the words. If you're not tempted, if you're quiet, there are thousands of self-enhancement techniques available. Use 1 or 2 or 5 of them. The books I wrote, After Time and Island of Hearts, cover all the material we'll talk about today in an exquisite manner, very poetically and powerfully, in every conceivable circumstance and situation and place of seeming power in the world is discussed in a lighthearted way, continually reminding us to not react to anything. Even an onrushing train. These are not just words. You're made of spiritual steel. You're stronger than the oceans, the star systems, all the machines, all the supposed intelligences of this world. The world is the first obstacle in meditation to dissipate and disappear. You'll quietly go, oh, this isn't here. The spiritual presence I feel is God, and God's giving it to me, and I'm it, and I can't accept that because I'm too humble. That's your first hurdle to get over. And you might never get over it. I can't get over it. I know what I am. And these energies pour off into everyone. They just stream out all day and night, and I find my friend JB here who understands it. So I use him sometimes if I have to do a depossession. There's a word for it. And the first, I'm just going to mention a couple technical details of that. If you're working with people, you can't react to them ever. You're in a quiet place, you're an instrument of God, and divinity will pour off from you. And when I'm at home, this is very easy to do. We're in a room here in a very busy big gym, my buddy's gym. We got world-class athletes here and doctors and a genius. And Donna, the angel of light, who I knew would be here in these classes 20 years ago. And here are the classes, and here's Donna. And here are we, ready to defend our nation, our world, the sanctity of our heart and soul and family, by understanding the wisdom from above. You're not of this world. Start believing that. You'll start feeling it. You'll be like clouds drifting through you, sometimes a soft golden edge to it, and sometimes a light but beautiful gray. And they'll have every kind of, they talked about fractals, these energies are where you can see everything and anything. It's better than mathematics, okay? Without going into it, to discern the meaning and values and quantities of things. So that'll be the beginning of your perception. You'll have so much going on all day. And in the middle of it, you have these grotesque beings attacking you with a thought of some man or woman in some way. You're like, what the hell? You know what I mean? To interrupt it. And as soon as it happens in the beginning, you're going to love it, because you're going to get, oh, this dark stuff is, because I'm trying to step away from the thing, from this mirage, it attacks me, so I'm meant to look at it. The world is fascinating. Anything fascinating, walk away. God is not Las Vegas. God is simplicity, quiet, calm, purity. And when you learn to get here, no matter what the conditions are, then you'll know how easy it's going to be for you to gather up a few friends, family members, maybe 1 million or 2 folks around you, and help them fold up the whole thing. It need not be. It's a bad dream. And you are God's vision. You're beautiful, you're pure, you're true. Yes, you are holy. Everything in consciousness will attack you throughout the day and evening hours to subtly or grotesquely knock you off base. And the beauty of that is that will be your teacher, the idiot on the other side, Satan and all the different, and there are many, many different beings, and every person in the world has different energies behind them. So I say when you're doing a deep session, you're very quiet, look at it, can be anything from anywhere. You know, like working with some people, I was working with JB earlier this week, and as soon as you work with someone really evil, it's like, oh, you feel like, oh, I'm tired, I don't want to do this, you know what I mean? So that's the different ways it protects itself. It's like anybody that's not a good person, they have different ways of acting out to keep you away, to find out, so you'll never find out who they really are. They're protecting fear. And there is no fear in God consciousness. Spiritual enlightenment, illumination, nirvakapali samadhi, the vision of God, the beatific vision. It's my vision of you right now. It's God's vision of you right now. You came here of your own volition. You dropped into this hellish atmosphere. Something was out of whack and you just gave yourself. Spiritually, in the infinite spiritual cosmos, you wouldn't dream something like this could be, because you're close with God, and it's beyond infinite, and every moment it can change to something else that's more infinite. That's my personal experience. Certainly my old friend from back in the day when they were a different person, we're aware of it, had all this together and lived this in a very magnificent way in the most hellacious spot in the world. And now as a young person getting the energies together is hit with a couple years, thrown off base, and now will gently relieve themselves of that little block in their energy that's would be so infinitesimal to anyone else, but this person of magnificence and genius and spiritual harmony with all eternity has to let go of that now. And in that we'll realize what's been said this morning. There's something truly evil behind the incidental problems we have in our life, little fears or trepidations, or wonder why people aren't listening to us or whatever. It's the energy behind that the devil puts in these little spaces in our consciousness to keep us from being holy and intact and pure and true. It's a big deal. So when you're a spiritual person, look for these little indices inside yourself that seem like, well, that little block, and realize Satan's put a lot of time into that. And a lot of beings. Look at them clearly, ask them who they are, why they're here, and they'll fall apart. And you'll see a little, sometimes it'll be like bridge work behind it. You'll see, it could be anything you can imagine will be behind it, kind of energies, or they were ravaged 2,000 years ago. My friend helped me with someone that got into someone 400 years ago, and then I listened to my friend, and then he listened to the being that, and then the being that was doing all this evil remembered enough time 2,000 years ago when they were harmed, and so that's why they were so hateful. So you don't know who or what's going to come out of this clean. But if you stay true to what I'm going to tell you right now, you are God's eyes and ears and heart and soul and body in this world. You'll never be anything other than that. So you work on that, to remember that, to recall that, to believe that, to honor that, There's nothing wrong with you. This is a hell. So the little blockages you have emotionally, psychologically, physically, anything, they'll dissipate, they'll disappear, they'll go up in smoke, or you'll want to hold on to them for a while in a certain way, not hold on to understand more what it's about. Sometimes with me, I have someone I love dearly going through the worst kind of treatment. And so as an empath, I feel that, all of it. I can't get there physically to do whatever, and other friends have told me that their family's been helped through prayers and so on. All through my life I've gotten that. But that's not our purpose. Our purpose is a deep spiritual way to relieve the tensions, the fears, the trepidations, the traumas, the lack of money or love in the life of all those we care for and that we find worthy. It's not saying it's worthy as you're contrite, you're holy, you're spiritual, and you look with these blessed eyes that God gave you, that God is, that you are. You're very special. You're a remarkable person. What's being said this morning is more remarkable than anyone could dream. You'll find it in the scripture when you read just those certain sections. It's very specific in all the holy writings of the world, but people don't think spiritually. So they don't capture the true grace and purity and meaning of your heart, of my heart, in our endeavor to overcome the darkness, the wickedness in high places in this world. We're going to walk through it like a knife through butter. You're a warrior first. You'll have to be. You don't use their tools. You use my tools, his tools, your tools. In those two books, Island of Hearts and After Time, that my friend Susan George put together, all the magic of eternity is in there. Just quietly read them, pick it up whenever you have a moment here or there during the day, no matter what you're going through, and you'll find the exact words, the 3 words, the 5 words, the sentence, the paragraph, that touches that right there. God will be with you. God's your teacher. No one else. This is not magic. Forget the whole world's existence. There is a God. You're God's holy vessel. You're God. It's not someone else. It's not somewhere else. You're the answer to everything. Social, political, environmental, structural, whatever kind of science you want to use, or whatever, that's all garbage. The world isn't. I mean, you can see God through nature. It touches you and you walk away. I know when I lived in the redwoods different times, on my own a lot, you would just, on my own completely, I'd walk out into the woods and the whole world would disappear. And if you're spiritual, if you're illumined, whatever this is that all of us have here, it's not some special thought, I'm illumined. It just means you're very kind. Just means your heart breaks every time someone's hurt. Doesn't it? Isn't that you? Aren't you wonderful? So I can't do this for myself. When I saw people being hurt and murdered and killed, I'm like, and I knew I had the whatever, then for them I stepped forward and did the things that you must do. Please help your mother first. Imagine what she gave to live through in this stupid world. My mom, we had 6 beautiful children in the worst neighborhood. My dad was a homicide cop. It was crazy. And she never lost her dignity, her grace, her honor, just loved and did the clothes, this and that, around the clock in the worst environment for 6 children. So the 6 children, my dad, my mom, we've never left each other spiritually. Doesn't matter where we are, we always know everything. My sister was a very remarkable clairvoyant in Hollywood and around the world. Everyone came there, all the actors and all the. And because she was very direct. She was from South Philadelphia, so she was pretty direct and of course a gorgeous woman. And so they would all come to her, and she was very direct, like my dad. So she had that from my dad and the beauty of my mom. And so she'd clean up a lot of people's lives. And of course, she was always being abused by people around her, stealing her things. And I just told her when she called one time, a woman who owned something stole $10,000 in her jewelry, not that. And I said, stop. I said, don't trust anyone. Trust God. Love everyone like you do. Only trust God. And that means to pull it back in a very quiet place in the wheelhouse here. You're aware of when you should or shouldn't do, think, feel, give, or not give. I'll give anything away, and I've given everything away at different times. But I've never been stupid about it, never made a mistake. God will always replace anything and everything. Your heart, your mind, your soul. Please gather up your forces. Calmly, efficiently, subtly, step away. From time to time, write a little about your best qualities, about the things that are on your mind. And you're going to see, like, breaking the world apart will be, I'll tell people initially, just, okay, now you come to my place, write down 10 things that happened between the time you arrived here and you woke up this morning. I brushed my teeth, I got to the car, I talked to my aunt, And as soon as you do that, you'll make bridges in your thought. These things that hit you in between, you'll see how easy they are to eradicate. I worked with hundreds of people that help combat veterans, and simply by being very quiet, not reacting to anything, acknowledging people's wants or concerns, or handling something if the temperature isn't right, but someone comes to my home for spiritual empowerment, whatever you want to call it, they're safe. And they know it. They walk in the door. You're safe. You're in the door. This is before the garden, before time, before thoughts or things, before the world was. You were. You're a holy presence. You'll never die. No one ever died. In a very short time, whether 4 years, 40 years, you'll end all the madness in the world forever. Please read those 2 books. Believe in your soul. Know that everything that's out of whack, right now there's construction starting right outside the door here, is of the demonic forces. And as soon as you get very powerful, you'll do very powerful things. Start writing those down a little bit every day. Write down the things you overcame in your life and what it took to get there. Write down your goal towards illumination, towards healing your family or your mother. Write down how much you've given to it, how much you've achieved so far. 2 days later, 2 months later, write it again. Start building spiritual bridges in your thought to realize you're the spiritual structure of eternity, and nothing can withstand this. You're a pure vessel. You're holy. You're free. You're good. You're purposeful. God knows. Sit alone quietly in the evening hours. Light a candle. Pray for a friend. Let the little light streams of God love pour out from you towards your mom, your family, your friends, your world. Everything decent, everything kind, everything true. And you won't know who will be healed or not. It'll be interesting. Certain people you can help instantly. I have the ability to call out a person in public in a heartfelt shoot where they kept saying no. Done it, and I'm on their side, and I can clean up their act. Just a few very strong words. And an embrace, or whatever. You are a God. This is hell. You'll overcome all the forces of the dark without half trying. Please read those books. Please worship God. God worships you. you will fulfill your spiritual destiny. If you could think for one moment that a God, any God, could be behind all the insanity of this world. Therefore, God's not behind any of the insanity of this. Is a mental disorder. See how remarkable you are. Your God's here. You dropped into this space. There's an infinite realm of universes that are all spiritual, wonderful, all beyond thought. True love touches it. Spirituality touches it. Floral design touches it. Kind pat on the back touches it. You will give this presence wherever you go for the rest of your life. And here and there, someone will thank you and mention it, and realize many people will feel it and not acknowledge it to you because they don't know how to communicate. They don't know that it would be the appropriate thing to do. I make sure I tell all the people I know in my life that I see the goodness of their heart and soul. And I pray that helps them ground themselves while we march through this madness. It's a war that requires one thing: complete quiet and calm, and not reacting to anything. And all these lesser forces, and they can be very strong, they'll flee from you. The devil fears one righteous person more than 1,000 blind believers. You're righteous. Go to war, go to battle with the dark forces, with a quiet, contrite heart, knowing you've already won. Don't react to anything. Give your heart and soul to your mom, your friends, your family, your nation, your God. You're gifted. Give yourself the time to blossom and heal the nations. It's yours to do. And I know that you will do your duty. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sculptor.